Thank you very much, and good morning. I'm about to visit His Majesty the King to offer my resignation and close the book on my time as Prime Minister. My work is done. In 6.5 years, I took our party from a historic defeat in 2019, changed it so it was fit to face the country, and won a landslide general election victory in 2024. Since then, it has been the privilege of my life to serve you and this great country as Prime Minister. And I am confident that Britain is now stronger and fairer than it was 2 years ago. Our economy is stronger. Our public services are on the up, with the biggest fall in waiting times for 17 years. Children are being lifted out of poverty every single day. Immigration is down significantly. Our defence and security are on a far stronger footing, and our international reputation is greatly enhanced. Yet the thing I will always take away with me, the most humbling aspect of this job, is the front row seat you get to witness the greatest things of this country in action. To see every day immeasurable acts of resolve, grit, decency and compassion from people who serve our country, whether that's in their regimental colours, NHS scrubs, or simply the millions of people in their communities who volunteer their time and their effort to the ground beneath their feet. We face a world now where our enemies will stop at nothing to divide us because of our values, our freedom, our decency, and frankly, because of our unflinching resolve towards the brave people of Ukraine. And so under this attack, it is vital that we remember the greatness of the Britain all around us, that while we debate how to fix our problems, there is something we inherit from our country and our character that can give us confidence, that we can change our country for the better, that we can create a Britain where every child can go as far as their talent will take them, and we can unite different people under our common flag if we don't succumb to that division. So, as I now pass the baton to Andy Burnham, I wish him every success. He has my full support. And finally, I want to thank once again my family, Vic and our children, my team, all the staff here and across the Labour Party, everyone at Number 10 and across the civil service, and everyone who has supported our efforts along the way. For all the focus on individuals, politics will always be a team sport, and the changes we've delivered for our country and our party belong to everyone who has fought for them. I thank them again today, and I thank the British people for the opportunity to serve. I go with good grace, I go with a smile, and I go proud of everything that we have achieved. Thank you very much.
That is Keir Starmer there delivering his farewell speech outside Downing Street. Also in Downing Street, of course, is Anna Mikhailova, our political editor. Anna, what did you make of that?
Well, there you go. I mean, he goes with a smile. So very different to the resignation speech from a few weeks ago, where there was a much more teary end at the end of his speech. Now we are watching, he is hugging his wife Victoria. Now they are walking. They're saying goodbye to staff. They're being cheered by the Downing Street staff who have gathered outside. And they are now walking hand in hand to the car that is waiting to take Keir Starmer to Buckingham Palace. Interestingly, and now you can hear the snappers who are next to us shouting to get their photo. Here they are literally walking past, a stone's throw away from us. Interestingly, although his children had come to stand outside Downing Street, they have not done the walk down Downing Street, so Keir Starmer has remained true to his promise to not put his children into the public eye. And the car is they've just sat down, closing, the convoy's off. Here we go. That's his last time from Downing Street. You can hear the cheers. And there are the cars, the police accompanying him, the convoy. Whitehall is now going to be on lockdown while he travels down to Buckingham Palace, and the official handover of power takes place.
Keir Starmer there, leaving Downing Street, one would assume, for the last time, unless he's forgotten something and has to come back and get it. Anna Mikhailova, any great surprises there in that speech? I mean, he defended his record, but he did express sort of huge support for Burnham going forwards, didn't he?
Well, he tried to strike a very statesman-like tone, Hugo. He says he passes the baton to Andy Burnham. He wishes him well, but he mostly talked about his own time. I thought it was very interesting that he opened by talking about his 6.5 years as a leader of the Labour Party. It's very clear that when the book about Keir Starmer's time in office is written, he would like the focus to be on the way that he turned the Labour Party around as a very big part of his legacy, brought it back from the defeat in 2019, and of course by doing so it escapes the much more uncomfortable fact that he has only been in Downing Street for just 2 years.
Yeah,
but he talked about the economy, he talked about his bringing Britain onto the international stage. He says it leaves it with a better reputation. He paid tribute to the brave people of Ukraine. Of course, the Ukrainian flag continues to fly over Downing Street, and certainly that will be one of the things he is remembered for most, his role in forming the coalition of the willing, helping set that up and embracing President Zelensky after his bruising in the White House with Donald Trump.
Thank you very much indeed, Anna Mikhailova. I know you're staying there outside Downing Street. We'll be back with you, of course, when the next one turns up. Still with me is Ollie Cole. Ollie, we are hearing some breaking news of I think it's the first departure from the government. The several outlets reporting that Lord Timpson has resigned as prisons minister. What can you tell us about him and about that?
Yeah, well, he was an interesting appointment because, of course, he was brought in by Keir Starmer in 2024 through the House of Lords as someone really an expert in prison reform. I mean, he has spent years leading, of course, the Timpson Group, but also leading on prison reform itself. So his departure, perhaps not a huge surprise, seeing as he was sort of a person that brought in specifically under Starmer. We think that the reason for that is a few ministers yesterday who it was quite clear Andy Burnham wasn't going to necessarily want to carry on, perhaps receive a bit of a call, a bit of a tip-off to say, so that we don't have to sack you and go through all this rigmarole of you walking up the street and back and this, that and the other. We're giving you a bit of an early sign so that you can decide whether to go. He said it's been an honour to serve as Minister for Prisons, Probation and Reducing Reoffending. We think that Andy Burnham will replace that role with an MP from the backbenches rather than anyone sort of following in the footsteps from a peerage. And of course, James Timpson took over that brief on what was a pretty tough piece of work to get done. A lot of prison overcrowding, the early release scheme, flowing through the system. So quite a lot to get done. And people in the civil service, obviously greatly admired and respected his work in that area. But that is just the start now of a stream. And I think it was interesting to see the people who were out with Keir Starmer stood behind him in terms of the politicians. You're looking at Rachel Reeves, you're looking at Richard Hermer, the Attorney General, you're looking at David Lammy, the Justice Secretary, Sadiq Khan, who's just been made a peer, Joe Stevens, the Welsh Secretary, all flanking Keir Starmer. And that perhaps, that is a collective of Starmer's closest political allies, but also a sign of people who don't necessarily expect after today to still be in the jobs they've been in.
Well, look, also listening to Keir Starmer's farewell speech just then was Claire Ainsley, the former Executive Director of Policy to Keir Starmer and now a Director at the Progressive Policy Institute. Hello, Claire.
Hello there.
So, look, he used his last moments as PM to make the case that he is leaving the country in a better state than he found it. Do you think that's the case? And do you think he really believes that that's the case?
Yeah, I think it is the case. And I think lots of people out there are very frustrated that the pace of change hasn't been quicker. But I do think he's able to genuinely say that the Labour Party in government has managed to stabilise the public finances, has restored Britain's standing on the world stage, and has also started turning around important public services like the health service, certainly kind of bringing waiting lists down and the wait for GPs. So I do think he's right to say that that foundation is there, but you can hear that he feels that really 2 years was certainly not enough to enact the kind of long-term project that he wanted.
So Linton Crosby, the veteran Australian political strategist, he writes in the Times today that Keir Starmer could still have won the next election. Keir Starmer clearly, I would expect, probably believed that as well. Why's he gone?
Well, his MPs clearly didn't believe that, and I think Linton's piece today, I think, is very well said. Obviously comes from a different political perspective, but essentially that argument that you midterm are going to have deep unpopularity, I think probably what it underestimates, and it's hard to say this is someone who supported Keir all the way through, but clearly his popularity in the country wasn't what it needed to be. So the reason he's gone is because the Parliamentary Labour Party, the MPs, have lacked confidence that he was really the person to take him forward. And I think that does really put an awful lot of pressure on them, and of course our new incoming government led by Andy Burnham, to make sure that they get on with those changes fast.
Look, you know Keir Starmer very well, having worked with him. What do you think is next for him? Should we expect him to leave Parliament before the next election? What do you expect him to do next, just, in his life?
Well, I think take him at his word when he says that if he's asked for advice by his successor, he will give it, but he will give it privately. So I don't expect him to be popping up on the pages of the Times by the end of the week, dishing out his advice publicly. So I think he'll take the opportunity to step back and give that time to the family that he obviously cherishes. I do think it would be a shame if we lost him in public life completely. So like other people, I hope that he does have an opportunity to build on some of the international connections that he's made for Britain. But I think in the short term anyway, I think he'll be stepping back from sort of the public profile, give the Burnham team the space to get on with the job. But yeah, I hope that we do see him in a prominent role in the future, if not in British politics.
With the Progressive Policy Institute, Claire, you've been looking at why working class voters are increasingly turning away from centre-left parties. What would Andy Burnham have to do in his first few months to stop that drift?
So we've been doing research all over the world, and actually some research in the UK over the last fortnight, and it's very clear that working class voters have to be won in order for centre-left parties to win. You can't just win with the sort of urban, liberal, progressive base. You need those voters, but you need the bigger kind of working class in the towns and suburbs too. In the UK, it's really clear they are really feeling let down, very fed up. Many of them voted for Labour just 2 years ago. So they want change, and they want it fast. They want it really within 6, if not 12 months, to be able to see that they've got a government that's listening to them. So the type of change they want is to see a government that's really backing them on the cost of living and on affordability. That's their big issue. They also talked a lot about their local areas, feeling like they're in decline, and immigration. So immigration is a much bigger issue for this group of voters than it is for the sort of other part of the centre-left coalition. So Andy Burnham, I think, has got an opportunity. But really in the next few weeks, he's really got to define himself to the public, because they're listening, but only for a short period of time.
Thank you very much indeed, Claire Ainsley, former Executive Director of Policy to Keir Starmer. And also thank you to Ollie Cole, Times newsroom reporter, and to Megan Kenyon, political correspondent at the New Statesman. Just to recap for you, Keir Starmer has left Downing Street, and I think he has just arrived at Buckingham Palace.